of the City of Maplewood Community Design Review Board. Today is Tuesday, September 15th, 2020, 6 o'clock. We will, next item is roll call, and I see that we have everyone here, well, actually not everyone here. We are missing Anant and Bruce, but we do have a quorum, so we will proceed. And if those two appear, again, we will make note of it. So the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I would like to propose a change to the order of the agenda. Under new business, I guess I would be making a motion that we swap out 1 and 2, so that we do the Raising Cane's first. Reason I'm thinking for that is that seems to be pretty much without controversy. And I think we should be able to take care of that a little more quickly. And then I think in case there are people that want to talk from the community, then maybe we can accommodate that. So that's my motion to switch 1 and 2 under letter E.
That's acceptable with staff. I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That looks like unanimous to me. Okay. Next is the approval of the rest of the agenda. Anything from staff?
Chair and board, there are no amendments to the agenda as presented.
Okay. Then next item is anything from the board?
No.
So we will move on to the approval of the minutes of August 18th, 2020. Anything from staff?
Chair and board, staff does not have any amendments to the minutes as presented.
Board, anything?
I would make a motion to approve the CDRB minutes for Tuesday, August 18th.
I second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will take it to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. That looks like unanimous to me also. Next item is new business, which is the new number 1 Raising Cane's 3065 White Bear Avenue North. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair and Commission. So I've shared my screen to show a presentation. Just confirm that you are seeing our slides that will walk through our presentation for discussion.
Got it.
Okay.
Got it.
So as the chair mentioned, Raising Cane's is proposing to build at 3060 White Bear Avenue. This would be a new restaurant building for construction. The current retail store would be demolished. The overall site is just over an acre in size. And for this project to move forward, it requires design review, which is occurring right now with this group. The current controls on the property, the future land use plan, the 2040 comprehensive plan guides this site as mixed use community. And the zoning of the site is BC, business commercial. The proposed use as a fast food restaurant is a permitted use for this site. So after tonight, it does not go to the city council unless there is a reason for the applicant or the design board or the city council to appeal what occurs tonight. The building itself is located on the south side of the site. Touch on the last point actually on this slide. There's a pipeline and power line easements that affect this site, and that's why the building and why the existing building is where it is as well, pushes the site design to the south half. They are meeting all setback requirements for the pipeline and staying out of the easements. So everything is being met, but that's why you see this site design where the building and the drive-throughs get pushed to the south side of the site. The building itself meets the 30-foot setback from White Bear Avenue. Woodland Avenue at this portion to the south of the site is a private road. It is not subject to the same setback requirements as a public road. The parking lot is set back at least 15 feet from White Bear Avenue and at least 5 feet from all other property lines. I do want to mention there's a couple areas of non-conformities. If you can see my cursor up here to the north and to the west side, These are existing areas where the parking lot already essentially goes up to the property line. So the applicant is proposing to maintain existing nonconformities. The minimum parking count is being met for this project. For a restaurant use, that's one space for every 50 square feet of patron use. And there will be one access drive serving this site. On the last slide here, you see how the parcel extends all the way here to a feeder road of the ring road. All these roads internal to the Maplewood Mall area are all private roads. So this site leads off to what's called Ernest Way, and then you can access County Road D to the north or head to the ring road to access other points around the mall itself. The building itself will be 23.5 feet in height. The exterior of the building will be comprised of brick facade, cement, metal panels, and a window trim. The applicant is going to be required, based on staff's recommendation, to submit elevations for the proposed trash enclosure, which will be located on the north side of the site. Again, looking at the cursor, here's where the proposed trash enclosure would be located. The applicant is removing 3 significant trees on the site. And when you plug that into the city's tree replacement calculations, and even with the planting of 14 new trees, the applicant is required to either plant 4 new trees on the site addition to the 14 that they have proposed, or pay into the city's tree fund. So some additional work will need to be done, minor as it is, before any permits can be issued. So again, that we ensure that the tree preservation ordinance is being met. In terms of process, when projects like both your projects tonight only require CDRB review, ordinance actually states that our notification area is 350 feet. The city on these projects did bump that up to 500 feet just to ensure everyone at a broader radius was aware of what projects were going on. On this one in particular, we did not hear any feedback from neighboring properties. And so with that, with the conditions noted in the report that was included with your packet, staff is recommending approval of this project. I and the applicant, representatives of the applicant are here, and they can address the board and talk more about the project, but all of us are available for any questions the board may have tonight.
Michael, you said there was no material selection for the outside of the trash enclosure, is that correct?
Nothing was noted.
Okay. Yeah, that's in a really prominent position right along White Bear Avenue. I guess then my next question would be for the applicant, if we could, if being that it's separated from the building, if they could utilize the same brick that they're utilizing on the building to wrap that trash enclosure so that it's done in a one of the more durable premium materials that's on the building. The applicant available?
So that is typically a CMU enclosure, but we can certainly make it better match the building.
Even with CMU, it's possible to have either a textured CMU or a
Right, it would be a split face. It would not be smooth.
yes.
Okay, also, just let the record be shown that Anand Shankar is now with our meeting. So we have 4 out of 5 of the board.
Sorry, it was a delayed. I had to jump on from another meeting.
Things happen. That's okay.
Mr. Chair, I had a question. For the trees on the south side of the site, are those being removed? The current trees, the existing trees?
Sure.
I think
Sure,
I see
Commissioner.
them. Yeah.
I'm just pulling up the plan so that I can specifically answer your question. If the applicant happens to know right off the top of their head, please jump in. Otherwise, I'm taking a look at the preservation plan.
This is Ben Johnson with Kimley Horn. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just pulling it up as well, but I believe we are removing a couple of trees that are on the property. There are a couple of trees that are outside of the property that would remain.
Specifically on the south side, I think that's, I was looking at, when I looked at the site, I looked and I saw that there were a couple of large maple trees there that were really nice. And I thought to myself, well, that will be, great for screening the drive-through, that kind of thing. And I don't see those trees remaining. And I'm just wondering what effort was made. It appeared that they were pretty close to the property line. And I just thought they were significant and expected to see them in the plan.
I'm
I don't know,
actually pulling up the survey to see where they fell.
Mike, was that discussed at the staff level?
Chair and Commission, no, not specifically. The ordinance doesn't, it incentivizes tree preservation, but it does not require that specific trees are kept. The applicant has to, like I said earlier in the presentation, either plant more trees or pay into the fund. So there is a effect to taking down trees, but no, we did not specifically talk about, I know the 2 trees that you mentioned, there's a 3rd tree in that area that on their preservation plan that are being indicated to be removed.
Okay.
Yeah, those are 2 along the very far south, 2 20-inch maples, and they are both within the site to be removed.
Right. There's one of them that appears to be like feet away from the property boundary.
Yeah, it's just inside the boundary line.
Right. Is there, and I haven't compared that directly to the landscaping plan, but I think we've got a little bit of green space there. And maybe I'm getting ahead of us here. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to get us off track, but yeah, I guess that's something I'd like to chat about.
So I think we can take a closer look to see if it's possible. I think as Mike had mentioned, there are some intricacies on the south side of the site where there's paving existing, but we are getting a little bit closer kind of on that southeast angled portion of the property where it might be tough to protect that tree, but we are maintaining that 5-foot pavement setback. But
Okay.
I think we can look at this a little closer, though. I do see what you're saying. It might be tough to protect those trees given how close we are getting with our pavement.
They're very nice maples, and I think that those are tougher trees too. So you can they likely will survive some activity around them. But I don't want to speak out of turn here. But anyway, a thought that I was just wondering about the staff review on that detail.
Okay. Any other questions?
I just have a question on number 6 here. The factory finish color of the rooftop units shall match the color of the roof. Is the site in such a way that is depressed that people can see the roof? I would be more concerned about the rooftop units being colored so it matches the elevation of the building.
Chair and Commission, I'm just pulling that up to look at. It's a condition that's been consistent with other buildings that you've reviewed in this area. So if there's fine tuning of that language that you'd like on this project, but it has been pulled from more recent buildings right in this quadrant, essentially, of the part of the city.
So we are just following the same language from other projects in the area.
Yeah, staff's initial aim obviously is to work to be consistent with new buildings so that we're treating them the same as they come through. But obviously we want to recognize differences in site and conditions. But yeah, this was a condition that we've had on other buildings in the immediate area.
So then I should ask, does the color of the rooftop unit is completely different than the color of the walls of the building?
And I need to defer to Ben on that. I don't know, and he may not know.
Yeah, I guess I'm just trying to look at the architect's plans.
Hi, this is Dusty. Is it okay if I speak? I'm the architect for Kane, and I can speak to this if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi everybody. I'm sorry, I was trying to stay muted, but I wanted to chime in here. The rooftop units are going to be a standard metallic metal, but we do have screening on the top of our buildings to hide all of that, and the screening will match our building finish. So I'm hoping that's okay for everybody.
Is that the oyster color? There's 3 different stucco finish colors: oyster, mountain fog, and summit gray. Is it matching one of those in particular?
Yes, it'll be the lighter version.
The oyster shell?
Yeah.
Is the white one that's kind of by where the Raising Cane sign is mounted.
Yes, if I remember correctly, it should match that one.
What's your screening material? Is that metal?
No, it is it's a built wall assembly essentially, but it's a drive-it finish on the outside, so it'll match the building.
Oh,
What was
okay.
the finish again, please? What did you
I'm
say?
so sorry. It's a drive-it finish, so it'll match the building.
Drive it, but I'm not.
Well, I believe you said, yeah.
I'm sorry, didn't hear you. Can you say that again, please?
I believe you mentioned EFIS, which is
okay.
drive-it's a more quality version of it. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just sometimes on these meetings, the words get kind of erased.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I got it. I'm, we're good.
Perfect.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Would somebody care to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. Mike, are we approving all 3, 1, 2, and 3, Mike?
Yeah, Chair
Or
and
just
Commission.
2 and 3?
There's one resolution in your packet.
Okay.
And so you would be approving
Okay.
that entire resolution.
So I motion to approve the resolution for the Raising Canes located on 3065 White Bear Avenue. Items 1, 2, and 3, with the addition to number 3 of item 13, the trash enclosure to use the Belden Norman EFW-1 brick as defined on the building elevation for site continuity of building materials. No
I will
other.
second that. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I'd like to add a friendly amendment if I may. I would like to condition the approval on the applicant working with staff regarding the landscaping plan and taking another look at the existing vegetation, particularly along the south boundary of the site, in an effort to preserve the existing trees.
Okay, Jason, is that acceptable?
Yeah, I accept that.
I will keep my second. So we still have a motion and a second with 2 amendments. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I will call it to a vote. All those in favor of this signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? I hear nothing, so it's unanimous. So I understand, Mike, that that they now have the green light on this project.
Correct, Chair and Commission. Both projects tonight, pending what happens with the next item, would be required to wait 15 days for that appeals process that I described earlier. But after that, they could apply and receive a building permit.
Okay, very good. Well, to the applicants, I wish you good luck and look forward to some competition to the place just directly to the south.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good
Thank
evening.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Next item of new business is design review of Maplewood Living Development at 0 Maplewood Drive. Report, please, staff.
Sure. Thank you, Chair. Pulling up the slides again. As mentioned, we're looking at a proposed apartment building. This is on vacant land. I'm showing with my cursor with the red polygon here, just southwest of County Road C and Maplewood Drive, south of the row of single-family homes that are to the north of the project. This is would be located on a just under 9-acre project area. And tonight they are requesting review and approval of design review. The current controls of the property, the future land use plan, the 2040 plan guides the site as medium density residential. Just for background knowledge, this property was re-guided to medium density in 2010 with the adoption of the 2030 comprehensive plan. And also in 2010 is when the site was zoned R3 multiple dwelling. So it's been guided and zoned for multifamily use for several years now in 2 iterations of the comprehensive plan. The site is currently vacant. No uses have been proposed in recent history. And again, just want to reiterate the proposed use of an apartment building is a permitted use for this site. And so that's why they're looking to have design approval approved tonight. And that's at your discretion. But the council does not have to approve this project to move forward again, as it is a permitted use. The apartment building itself is proposed to be set back 30 feet from Maplewood Drive to the east and 100 feet from the north property line. That is the maximum requirement of a setback in the city of Maplewood. So they are meeting, and it is required in this case, and they are meeting that setback. The parking lot is required to be set back 15 feet. As you can see on the site plan here, there are 2 parking lots, the south parking lot and the north parking lot, again, both meeting that setback from Maplewood Drive. And then there's an additional 20-foot setback to the north property line, which the applicant is meeting. The minimum parking count is also being met for a 72-unit building. That's 144 spaces, and that is being met under this proposed site plan. And 72 of those spaces would be in the surface lots that are to the south and north of the property, and half of the overall 144 spaces are required to be covered, and the applicant is proposing to do this in an underground garage. So 72 of those parking spaces will be in that underground garage that you access right here, if you can follow my cursor. There would be 3 driveways onto Maplewood Drive. Obviously, an in and out drive here on the north parking lot, and then a one-way in to this side on the south side of the building where you follow through the parking lot and exit here only even further south, just north of the stormwater management area. There is a managed B wetland located on this in the center of the site. You can see that indicated with the green polygons within the site. Ordinance requires a 75-foot average wetland buffer from this wetland. It can go down to a 50-foot minimum at times if you compensate again for that average of 75 feet. The applicant's plans do meet all wetland setback requirements. This parcel is also, the majority of the project area is in the shoreline overlay district for Coleman Lake, as indicated on this bottom image. When you have properties within, residential properties within the shoreline, you are limited to a 30% impervious surface maximum. So again, with the massing of the property on the east side of the site, you can see how much of the project area is being left untouched. And therefore, as you can see, just 14% of the area becomes impervious after the project. So they're well meeting that ordinance requirement for the shoreline overlay. The proposed apartment building itself, the elevations, apartment buildings are limited to 3 stories and 35 feet in height. This is a 3-story building, and the project or the building height is just under 35 feet by just a little more than 3 inches. So they are meeting the ordinance requirements there. The exterior of the building will be comprised of a brick, stone, metal panel, and cement siding with that flat roof. And all rooftop equipment would be required to be screened from all sides for this project. And you had further renderings of all elevations, including the building elevations themselves, included with your packet. For landscaping and screening, there's 143 significant trees on the site. 35 of those are being removed and 25 new trees are being planted. Again, because the scale of this site and how much of it is being left untouched, the tree replacement ordinance, tree preservation ordinance does not require them to do anything further in terms of replacement. So they are meeting all tree preservation requirements for this site. Ordinance does require screening to be installed when light and automobile headlights and other sources would be directed into residential windows. So I know there's a sensitivity with this single family homes here to the north, and especially with this drive coming out of the garage. And so staff has in the recommendations put in that ordinance requirement that 6 foot, 80% opaque screening does need to be specified, and that needs to be year-round screening. So if you use a vegetative screening, it does need to provide year-round screening. You know, a fence would probably make a good sense here in portions too, to help block that. And that's where we would like the board to further comment on. I just wanted to point out, we did receive one additional comment from the neighborhood today. James Nygaard, he lives he's one of those handful of homes that are north of the site. I'm not pulling his comment specifically out as more important or relevant than others. It's just that it did come today, so I wanted to make sure that everyone saw it. I did forward it to all board members to their email as well today. But again, this is just to augment the other comments that were already in your staff reports. And I mentioned how the staff recommendations on the screening requirements already. Again, process, much like the last project, we did a notification out to 500 feet instead of the 350 feet. We did receive 8 comments, including the one that you just saw on the last previous screen. And then with the conditions of approval found in the report, staff is recommending approval of this project. I know we have representatives of the project on the call that can address the project and answer any questions you may have. Staff is also available for questions from the board.
Hey, that screening at the north end of the property is, you said, a 6 foot fence or something like that?
I think there's a fence designated in the plans I reviewed.
Yeah.
Can staff comment on that?
Yeah, no, there's nothing specific called out in the plans that said this is for screening. What I mentioned is the ordinance requirement of it needs to be a minimum of 6 feet, 80% opaque, and that's what we'd be looking to get at.
Is that adequate? Will that screen enough?
That's what the ordinance calls for.
Okay. Did anybody get out there and get a good look at that to see if you think that the 6 foot would be tall enough to adequately screen?
You know, living near this site, staff a couple of years ago on this site, I think there was some logging that occurred that triggered the city to take action and get additional trees planted. Are those trees that were planted at that time going to be preserved on that 20-foot buffer that's along the properties to the north?
Chair and board, that specific, plantings of where those trees are, I can't comment on, but the applicant does have the ability to take trees down and replant based on current conditions. So they are, this project has been reviewed by our city's naturalist, environmental planner, and our engineering staff. And in doing so, they have determined that it is meeting all requirements of our tree preservation ordinance.
Okay. Could you put the grading plan up on that for that side of the property, Michael?
Yes, I can. Just give me a moment here to pull that up.
Michael, this is Matt Frisbee leading the development team. So if there's some things I could respond to or answer as we go, I'll just unmute as needed.
Great. So, Jason, this is the grading
Yeah,
plan?
could
or-
you zoom in on that north parking lot? I just want to see the
Whoops,
proposed
sorry.
grading that the
The grade slopes down, does it not, from east to west?
It does, yeah. And I know that there were some comments from some of the properties around creating possibly like a berm, and I don't know if that's feasible based on what trees are going to be preserved, and to not trap water on the back side of that berm adjacent to the properties themselves, that it would maintain flow.
Yeah, I think if you add a berm, there's trees in the way there, and that that's not the greatest for the existing trees. So we might end up taking out the existing vegetation, which is significant right in that area, as a matter of fact. So perhaps the fence makes the most sense.
I think a combination of a fence and pine trees that would grow beyond that 6 feet with time to provide additional height. Michael, in the landscape plan for this, the proposed vegetation had more trees towards the east side of that 21-foot buffer. And it appeared they were just preserving trees straight out of the drive-through or the exit to the parking garage. Are the trees, maybe the applicant can speak to this, are the trees there straight out of the parking garage? Are those all the deciduous trees that exist today in that clump?
Yes, this is Matt Frisbee. Yeah, those are the existing trees that are back there. And then we would fill in. There's a little bit of fill in there. You can see that we started.
On the right-hand side, kind of there?
Yeah, and so also keep in mind there's in that dashed line there, it's a little bit hidden, but underneath that there's a retaining wall that is going to be somewhere between 2 to 3 feet tall to, as the grade comes down, that'll be lower than the existing 20-foot buffer, if that makes sense. So any headlights and stuff would be going into that wall and not over the wall, but into it. And then we would have landscaping on top of that, and then infield trees. Some of the ones that you see there might be white pine or spruce or something that has some more density to it. Other ones, the lower ones would be a dogwood, and other ones that would complement that. I did meet with 3 out of the neighbors. The house on the corner is actually boarded up right now and no one lives there. But I met with 3 out of the other 5, and I had some good conversations with James. I walked into each one of their backyards with them. We kind of walked through that, and any of those existing trees within that 20-foot buffer that are healthy, we would definitely keep and enhance. We don't want to mess with those. And then that is a concern that I think you might have mentioned with any berming. The more we pile onto their root system, becomes kind of an issue there. So we're very open to, if there's some spots for some berming that makes sense, might be kind of a nice natural look to kind of, with some berming, some nice plantings. We're definitely open to a screen fence of some type. That's okay too. It didn't seem like with some of the neighbors that maybe that was their wish, but we're open to that. We want to be good neighbors to them.
Okay.
I don't have any further questions on that back area at the moment.
Okay. Anything to say about the design of the building?
I'm looking at the sketch which says northeast corner, and as the grade slopes from east to west, it's exposing quite a bit of the basement wall. And the color I'm seeing there seems to be like just exposed concrete. What is that? What is the wall that you're exposing down in the basement?
Yes, thank you for noticing that. That was just an error in the rendering as it's through Revit, and so when that got printed, it didn't get caught. But that material would have a matching material to the wall above. It would not be a stark, raw concrete. It would complement above, or we would take any, if it's the brick or the siding, we'd bring that down over the concrete. So that's a good catch.
So when you say match some of the materials above, you have 4 different types of materials. So which one are you proposing to match?
The dark gray brick.
I'm just trying to get to that image here real quick.
So you're going to clad that whole wall with brick?
Well, the grade comes up that wall in most of the locations, and anywhere where it's exposed. I thought I had that here, but I'm missing it right now.
Mike, this is Mark Paschke. Yeah, we've got some different exterior materials, and I think that wall, as it transitions across the building, whether it would be the cementitious siding or brick, that would continue down to grade as grade transitions around the backside of the building.
Are we viewing courtyard looking north? Is that what we're looking at? And courtyard looking east?
Oh, I was looking at the sketch northeast corner.
Okay. Yeah, that's just one page before I was at. So we got the same on the next page. We have the same story then too. You go to courtyard looking north and courtyard looking east. You have the same situation, and also northeast corner. So
Yeah, there is exposed basement walls in several of these elevations.
So applicant, you are proposing to cover that with brick. Is that what I understand?
A brick or a complementary material that's above it. So if the cementitious siding, or I think we have some metal panel in a couple of spots, if that comes down, but it'd be primarily brick, yes.
Okay. Anant, what do you think about that?
Well, I wasn't liking the brick so much because I was liking the other cementatious color or whatever to match. They have these precast bands, above the windows I'm seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And they have, I think it's metal panel on the topmost floor. Is that correct? Or is it EFS?
No, that is correct.
What is correct?
It's a cementitious panel.
Yeah, so I would like to see that color down there at the bottom, not the dark brick.
That could be fine.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? If there are no more comments or questions, I understand that there are some citizens that would like to speak, and I'm wondering how many of those have something they would like to add.
Chair and board. So our experience of doing this at public hearings at the Planning Commission. So we have 1, 2, 5 phone numbers that I don't know who they are, and they might be related to the project, or they might be residents or interested property owners. So what we do is I state their last 4 digits of their phone number and give them an opportunity to unmute, and then they can address the board at your discretion if that's what you'd like to do.
Okay, would that be okay with the board to hear from people?
That's acceptable.
I'm proposing giving them a 1-minute time limit, and I've got a timer.
Okay, so Chair and board, I will start with just in order that I see them. So if your phone number ends in 8909 and you have something you'd like to say, this would be a time to unmute. You can unmute by *6, pressing *6. The last call for if your phone number ends in 8909. All right. If your phone number ends in 3251 and you would like to address the board.
Hello, this is Pete Belay, 3251.
Hi, Pete.
Go ahead.
Hello. Okay, got a minute. Couple quick comments. The trees that were replaced with the previous landowner, for the ones that were removed, most of those died. The trees, I think I mentioned in my comments, there's some sugar maples would be good to preserve. I'd be even willing to give up one or two of the ash trees behind my house because those are pretty much doomed. And then the other question I have is about noise. Since the garage door will be facing kind of our properties, will be a lot of noise with that thing opening and closing. And also I worry about the noise from people speeding to get into that garage door down the parking lot. Are they going to have to put in speed bumps? And I had a great discussion with the developer too.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's if you could just keep track of these questions, I would like to just move on to the next person, and then maybe the applicant can answer these questions when we're done with the public hearing part of it. If that's
Sure.
okay with everyone, if it
Sure.
makes sense. Okay.
So we will keep moving here. The next phone number, if you end in 4416 and would like to address the board. Last call, and you unmute by pressing *6, 4, and if your number ends in 4416. Okay. Next, two more here. If your number ends in 7037, this would be an opportunity to address the board. To unmute yourself, you hit *6.
Hello. Am I through?
Yep, we can hear you.
Go ahead.
Okay, good. Thank you. This is Don Christensen on County Road C. And, you know, I was on the Park Commission for years. And so, park question, is there going to be some trails on this property? I think it's great that they have a dog washing place, like I commented. But that means there are going to be people walking dogs. And right now, we just have the frontage road there and County Road C. It'd be nice if these people could get down into the park. And most of the time when we have developments, isn't there a park development fund that would come from this project that would go to things like trails in this particular park area? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Last number here, if your phone number ends in 2516, and if you would like to address the board. Looks like someone's coming. If you're 2516, you did unmute, so you should be able to speak.
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that. I had a headset in. Okay.
Sure.
My name is Nicole Evenson. I am 2516. I'm actually a resident of the Town and Country Mobile Home Park. And I have a couple quick questions and a couple concerns that I would definitely like to address with the board. First and foremost, one of the concerns amongst us residents that have kids who attend schools nearby, so that you've got Weaver and North and John Glenn, are their buses pick up in front of the entrance to the park. And so we're concerned if that's going to have to change. And, you know, if that's going, because that could potentially cause a problem for those of us who may not have transportation to get kids to another bus stop. The other concern that we have is, you know, we've been residents here for a long time, and we absolutely adore, you know, the little piece of land there that has the wildlife and the water, and we get so many animals here, and it's so peaceful and quiet. And I guess a general question I had was, well, who would want to live in an apartment that would overlook a bunch of trailers? I know I wouldn't. So we're just concerned about how things are going to be disturbed.
Okay, your minute is up, so we're gonna have to move on, but I think we get the gist of what you're saying. So,
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to give, if you haven't spoke and you would like to, and we missed your phone number, here would be your last chance. Again, if you have not spoke, is there anyone left that would like to speak?
Hello, can you hear 4416?
We can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I was having technical difficulties. This is Kelly and Cheryl, and we live across the street on County Road C from the 5 houses that are on the north side of the property. And we echo Pete's concern about traffic, especially speeding, especially on our street. We have a concern which we can take up on a different topic, but so we're concerned with that as well as the noise and the lighting. So just wanted to echo Pete's concerns and really appreciate everybody on the call today. Thank you for addressing our concerns.
Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, everyone has been afforded an opportunity to speak that's on the call.
Okay, so we had 4 calls. The first one was about trees. Does anyone have a comment about that? About, I think it was about sugar maples and some trees that were planted and died. Anyone have anything to say about that?
This is Matt Frisbee again. I did walk back there with Peter, and we looked at those sugar maple, and those are at a caliper that should have showed up on the tree survey. They were outside of kind of the limits of construction, so they will make sure those get added in to be saved. And then we did notice a number of trees that were either tilted, wilted, or just not doing well, period, that were planted from the previous owner. I don't know how long ago, and those we'll clean those up. They're pretty tough looking, and then we'll work with Peter on the landscaping again, just like with the other neighbors.
Okay. Then we had something about dog walking, if I can remember correctly. Is there any comment about that?
If I could go back, one more thing that Peter had was the noise from the garage door.
Yep.
So with that, we are 100 feet off the property line. Then we'll have the berm or the landscaping and the buffer of the fence. And then we're still about 100 feet to the houses. But with that, the door actually opens, of course, into the lower level garage. And that's all, that's going to be concrete and fairly well protected. And the doors that we use are very quiet. So I think the door coming open and closed really would be close to zero on them hearing that. It should be really quiet and fairly well insulated.
Could you verify if the doors are a belt drive or a chain drive door? Because I think the noise when first installed may be low, but if not maintained properly, the chain drive can get noisier with time. Is there a possibility for a commercial grade like belt drive door that would be quieter?
Well, they could be hydraulic too. It depends if a roll-up door would be a chain drive or a belt drive, but these might be doors that swing open, which I think are typically hydraulic.
Yeah, these are an overhead door, so it's approximately 22 feet wide, rolling up and into the ceiling space of the lower level parking. So just like, but it's a commercial grade, it's a heavier grade. We can look into the options of the chain or the belt and just talk to the manufacturer about noise level of that and see what would make sense. At the top of my head, we're in a kind of a concept design stage, a schematic design stage. So, specifications and every material has not been fully warranted yet. So we will get into that, but we can sure look at that.
Okay. Then we had somebody, the last one I think that spoke was asking about who wants to live in an apartment looking over mobile homes. So I don't know if there's an answer for that. So unless somebody has a comment to make about that.
There was a good comment about a trail to the west of the park, though. Is there any plan for connection there? I guess that's a city and a staff developer.
Yeah. To add to what Matt's asking, staff, to the north and west of the site, there's a pump station and there's a trail that connects there. But that lot, I believe, is that a city-owned lot or part of the park? And is there a capability to connect to that trail? Because one concern I have is there's a lot of people that are going to live here, and their access to get to the park right there is going to be to walk up to County Road C, and the shoulder on County Road C is not that wide. And I think that connectivity to that trail stub that comes to that pump station.
Chair and Commission, Chair and Board, the applicant had discussed that with the city at one point. At this point, the city wasn't interested in maintaining trails that might go on to the private property, but having that further discussion on could there potentially be a trail connection would be something that the city would be open to. But again, we'd have to work with our park staff on the master planning of Coleman Park. It's more for stormwater treatment, and like I said, the pump. There is a parcel of property that is between the official park and this property, but it is city owned. So there is the potential of that looking at some type of connection, but the city was not in a position to bankroll essentially or further down maintain additional trails that would connect at this point, or wasn't comfortable committing to that.
There was also another question about school bus stops. Is this going to be negatively impacted?
So a couple things. In general, the school district is kept up to date on, when the city adopts a comprehensive plan. So when they do their master planning of facilities and transportation, they are aware of generally where the city development-wise is going. There are no structural changes being made to Maplewood Drive. So the fact that, yes, property is being developed north of Town and Country, but it won't change the nature of how Maplewood Drive operates. The school district ultimately is in charge of their own transportation routes and where they place bus stops. But there wouldn't be any indication that a project here should have a negative or adverse effect on existing bus stop locations.
Okay.
Back to the park though, I guess I'd like to get a response from the developer, the applicant, regarding that issue. Would the developer construct a trail to match in if there was some appetite with the city to make that connection?
Yes, again, this is Matt Frisbee. We definitely would love to have that connection. And we did talk with a variety of people at the city over this last year about opportunities. Now, keep in mind, we have a wetland there, and then there's another wetland up in Coleman Park there as far as making that connection. So part of it was just working through that in the watershed district and the city to say, what are some of the things we can do to make those connections for a path, whether it's, a boardwalk or different things because of not wanting to disturb the wetlands. So our goal was to see, if there's a project here, what would be the next thing we could do to make some of those connections? And then also maintaining, if the city said, hey, we don't want to maintain a trail on the private land, we could look at that as far as, okay, is it something that we can maintain as far as our project? And then of course, Coleman Park is maintained by the park, but we would be very excited about that opportunity to make those connections.
So would you be willing to make a commitment if that happened at a later date to make improvements to your property to make that connection?
Yes.
Okay.
And Chair and Commission, if I could just have a moment, I just want to show what Matt just referenced, Matt Frisbee on the developer side. So this is the proper project area. These are the wetlands. So yes, this is a city-owned site, but you can see there would be some potential challenges of bridging, a trail.
Yep. Yeah, I understand, but I guess I just want to make sure that the developer's on record to,
sure,
after he gets his approval, that he'd be willing to make the connection if there's a public participation in that.
Duly noted.
Michael, could you pull that graphic you just had up again? So if you put your cursor on that little white dot in the upper right-hand corner of the city-owned lot, that pump station, right there, I'm sorry, there, yep, that's it. That's that pump station box, or I believe it's a pump station. Is there accessibility around that corner that to access? Because there's already a trail that comes up to that connects across the city property.
Sure. Chair and board, that's something like, as board member Lavina said, we can commit to looking into it. I don't want to speak out in front of our Parks and Rec and Public Works staff that manage these sites. You can see some other potential barriers, but if we can make a connection that everyone's a winner, I think that, again, that's something that we can explore down the road.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any more commentary or questions about the building itself? I guess there isn't. Does anyone care to make a motion?
I'll take a stab at the motion.
Okay. I was hoping you would, because you had some modifications to it, I believe.
I move that the Community Design Review Board approve this 3-story 72-unit apartment building on vacant land located on Maplewood Drive, south of intersection of County Road C, east and Maplewood Drive. And then I'm looking at section 3 here. The approval is based upon items 3.01.1, numbers 1 through 12. I'm going to add a number 13, which is going to say that all exposed walls of the basement of this building on all sides shall be faced with material and color that matches the material and color shown on the 3rd floor of the building facade.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a
Hold it. I have one more
Sorry.
thing over there. I was going to put number 14. I was going to put in, you guys can tell me if you agree or not. Applicant shall provide only at least one speed bump on the north parking lot and the southeast parking lot, approximately halfway in the middle of the parking lot.
That.
Okay, I would accept that, and I still second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. I want to add, I'm against the speed bump, but I'm not going to put the brakes on for this. I just hate speed bumps, and I don't think there's really going to be an opportunity for significant speeding anyway. But let's go ahead. So we did have a motion and a second.
Yes, and I'd like to add a friendly amendment